Right. So in this class, we'll start a new chapter, that is toxicology. You mainly have only two specific topics with respect to toxicology. There will be the general ways through which you treat the signs and symptoms of poisoning. So toxicology essentially deals with poisoning. Okay. This is a special branch of pharmacology, or you can also tell this is an extension of pharmacology that will deal with the toxic effects of drugs or any other toxic agent. So not just drug, but poisons and daily agents that can be poisonous or that can turn poisonous depending on the dose that they are exposed to essentially. So when we talk about poisoning in general, there are two different types of poisoning. You have acute and chronic. Now, acute poisoning can occur through a single large dose, wherein the patient is exposed to a very high dose of a poison that is immediately causing them fatal problems, or it could be multiple small doses that are occurring very, very quickly. Okay, repeated in a very short period of time. So either way, they will cause acute poisoning, which will appear very quickly, and the onset of symptoms are very abrupt. Out of nowhere, the symptoms will start appearing. That is acute poisoning. Chronic poisoning will occur over a long period of time. Small doses repeated over a long period of time, and signs and symptoms will be much more gradual in this. Okay, so similar to diseases, acute disease and chronic disease में कैसा difference रहता? Same. Acute poisoning and chronic poisoning will have a similar difference. Acute symptoms will appear much more abruptly and they will be much more severe. Rather than severe, it would be better to say that because they are acute, you need to treat them immediately, or else the patient can die. Chronic, you will have a little more time, and chronic poisoning, the patient. I would rather say that the patients who have chronic poisoning, they are in a much more dangerous situation because they will not be in a like current state of death, or they will not be in a current danger of death. So more often than not, what happens is people will tend to delay problems. So especially Indians, it is very common. For example, if their nails are becoming yellowish or whatever problem is happening, they will delay it for a long period of time. Whatever symptoms of chronic poisoning is occurring in them, it might be negligible at first. Over time it becomes non-negligible, and by the time they are going to the doctor, it will become, sometimes it will be very late, or it will take much more longer for the patient to be treated properly. It might lead to some irreversible damage as well. So that is chronic poisoning. Now, when we talk about signs and symptoms of poisoning in general, first we'll start with acute. Now, acute poisoning is rapidly fatal. Okay? So you don't have a lot of time to stabilize the patient. If you ever came across poisoning patients, I'm not sure whether you did in your hospital visit or not, but if you ever come across a patient with acute poisoning, they will be in an emergency room, and the first and foremost thing will be to stabilize them, to alleviate them of their signs and symptoms. Now, awareness of what type of poisoning has occurred, specifically awareness of the symptoms of poisoning, because there are so many multiple types of poison. Any drug can act as a poison. Okay? And any chemical can be a poison, depends on the dose that has been exposed to the patient. So find knowing the symptoms of poisoning, mechanisms that are involved in death due to poisoning, and early appropriate treatment, all of them play a very important role in making sure that the morbidity and mortality is reduced. Now, the first thing that you do is clinically assess the patient. When a patient of poisoning comes, your clinical assessment will be for vital signs. Now, vital signs में पहले ABC आता, ठीक है? Airway, breathing, circulation. These three are the first important ones. After that, you will check for heart rate, whether the patient's heart rate is normal or not. Technically, it will come under circulation, but heart rate, BP, um, respiration, respiratory rate. We'll check for pupillary size. This might give you an indication of what type of poison the patient might have consumed, whether it has cholinergic effects, adrenergic effects, anticholinergic effects. What is the kind of poison that has occurred, meiosis or a mydriasis or a body temperature, whether the patient has fever or they are becoming hypothermic, neurological status, are they able to follow simple commands or they completely out of it, uh, and level of hypertension as well, level of consciousness, sorry, level of consciousness should be assessed. Okay, whether they are confused, are they following simple commands, if they are having any convulsions, all of that comes under neurological assessment. Okay, uh, you'll do a multiple tests in that. When you go to a clinic and when you actually have clinical training, then you'll understand what are neurological assessments better. It is better to tell during that period of time. Anyway, so you check for all of that. And now, one thing in acute poisoning is that you don't wait too much. All right. You don't try to ponder too much upon what are the symptoms, trying to find the exact poisoning and all. First comes symptomatic treatment. Okay. First comes stabilizing the patient and giving symptomatic treatment to the patient. If the patient is having bronchospasms and respiratory depression, immediate attention is needed. Now, some common symptoms will appear with most poisoning. You will see vomiting, diarrhea, hypotension, a little bit of dehydration. All of this is very common. Arrhythmias are not common. If a patient is having cardiac arrhythmias, it might be theophylline, it might be digitalis, it might be amphetamines. Okay. uh, Sometimes some anti-arrhythmic drugs themselves will cause arrhythmia. Okay. तो tachycardia के लिए आप drug दे रहे, that might cause bradycardia or it might cause reflux tachycardia. It is possible. So, you know, in case of comatose patients, make sure that airway obstruction and aspiration of stomach content is not occurring. Okay. If aspiration of stomach content occurs in a comatose patient in their respiratory tract, not just comatose, even if they are, if they have altered consciousness, let us suppose they have a neurological deficit and um, their consciousness is altered consciousness plus aspiration of stomach contents, this will lead to problems, especially lung damage. It can also be fatal sometimes, because if think of it this way: if a patient is having the symptom of vomiting and they have altered consciousness, there is a chance that they might not vomit it properly, or they might stop it, or whatever the condition might be, they might aspirate it sometimes. And that vomitus, if it goes into your lung, it can cause severe damage. Airway might be obstructed, in turn will lead to even more damage, because if airway is obstructed, air is not entering in and you're not getting enough amount of oxygen, circulatory failure might occur. Now, you should not waste your time in identifying the specific type of poison. Now, whatever the poison might be, the first important thing that you need to do in a patient who has acute poisoning will be symptomatic relief. Supportive measures देना जरूरी है. Now, in case of poisoning, there are a few steps that you need to take. First step will be stop the source of poison. Now, that patient should be shifted away from the source of poison. Let's suppose they are exposed to a toxic gas, take them away from that position. Or they are being exposed to any poison wherever it is. They essentially, आप क्या कर रहे हो, उनको दूर लेके जा रहे हो poison से. That is the first step. Second step, limit the absorption. Now, what does this mean? Let us suppose, now this limiting of absorption will mainly depend of route of administration or route of entry, how that poison is entering into your body or into the patient's body. Let us suppose if that poison has been taken orally, intentionally, unintentionally, does not matter. Right now, the patient is poisoned and they are about to die. So, route of entry, let's suppose if it is oral, you can induce vomiting. You can give ipecac, you can give various emetic drugs. And I told you, when we were discussing about antiemetics and emetics, you can induce vomiting using emetics. They will stimulate your ctz and they will cause vomiting, which will help in you know uh, removing the contents from your stomach. So if route of entry is oral, first the drug has to go inside your stomach, then it has to get absorbed, right? So if you are able to remove maximum amount of drug or maximum amount of poison from the patient's stomach by inducing vomiting, the amount of drug that is absorbed or amount of poison that is absorbed will be limited. So you'll have to treat limited symptoms as well. Okay, the patient has a better chance of survival and a better chance of recovery as well. Then sometimes stomach wash might be induced. Stomach wash, gastric lavage. I'll tell you later what is stomach wash and what is gastric lavage. But stomach wash might be induced to prevent any further absorption. Okay, cathartics might be given. Bowel irrigation might be done. Okay, you can give purgatives as well sometimes. Depends on the poison as well, but sometimes some cathartics, yeah, any agent that is removing the drug from the patient's GIT. Agar GIT mein raha to it can get absorbed. Now, site of absorption mainly will be intestines, or sometimes it can be your this thing as well, stomach. Okay, very rarely it is anything else. If you are giving something like cathartic, it will remove the drug before it is getting absorbed. Okay, if the poisoning is through skin, let us suppose the poisoning is through skin. Let's suppose organophosphorus poisoning hai. I told you when we were discussing about anticholinergic drugs, cholinergic and anticholinergic drugs, sometimes organophosphorus poisoning can happen through fertilizers. ठीक है, फर्टिलाइजर्स में और एंटीकोलिनर्जिक एजेंट रहता है, ऑर्गेनोफॉस्फेट्स रहते हैं. So people who actually spread the organophosphorus, the fertilizer itself, it might be the farmer or whoever it might be, they can get infected, so or they can get poisoned. In those people who are getting poisoned through skin, remove their clothes first, because clothes will generally absorb the poison first thing. Then clothing should be changed. Okay, obviously when they come to the hospital you will change the clothing and it will be more appropriate, especially when the patient has been poisoned through their skin and the cloth has absorbed the poison. Because the cloth, if it has absorbed the poison, it will keep exposing the skin to more and more poison. The skin will keep on absorbing that poison. And wash the skin, wash with soap and water. Okay, so that you should wash the skin if the patient has been exposed to a poison through skin. Third step is supportive therapy. Now, supportive therapy may, you are again, this is emergency stabilization of your cardiovascular and respiratory system, because as long as their cardiovascular and respiratory system is working, you can work with the patient. Agar, see, even if they are, if their brain is not working completely, as long as their heart and their breathing is working properly, as long as their lungs are working properly, you can still keep the patient alive in the vegetative state, but still they'll be alive. But if let us suppose their airway or breathing, that is why I told ABC is very important. Supportive therapy में ABC आता, airway, breathing and circulation. ठीक है, airway should be cleared of any mucus, vomitus if it is present. ठीक है, you can suck, you can use a suction into the air passageway if needed and if required. Sometimes endotracheal tube भी insert कर सकते हैं आप. Make sure the patient is in lateral position when you do this, when you're what do you call, uh, if you're putting an endotracheal tube inside the patient, or if you're intubating the patient, or if you're removing, clearing the patient's mucus or vomitus, so that their tongue itself, something, sometimes what happens is if you put the patient on prone position, uh, they will, sorry, in supine position, their tongue itself will start blocking their airway. Okay, especially in comatose patients or altered consciousness patients, तो उनको lateral position में रखते हैं और they'll choke on their tongue. So you'll put them on a lateral position and then you intubate them. So first remove anything that is present in their airway that might be blocking their airway. Then breathing, if it is depressed, you can, induce artificial ventilation. You give oxygen if needed. Okay, you can give bronchodilators also in this scenario. Third, सर्कुलेशन को करेक्ट करने के लिए सर्कुलेटरी स्टेटस एसेंशियली यू आर चेकिंग फॉर शॉक. ठीक है. If the patient is having circulatory failure or not, you will check for the pulse rate, you will check for blood pressure, and you will check for urinary output. In circulation you will check for pulse rate, BP, and urinary output. Urinary output, right? So if they are deranged, you can use IV fluids. Okay, NS, half NS, Ringer's lactate, whatever you want to. Okay, especially in case of hypotension or circulatory failure like shock, these fluids become very very important to increase the blood pressure. Generally 1 liter of normal saline with 1 liter of dextrose is injected in the first 24 hours. 1 liter NS plus 1 liter dextrose, 5% dextrose solution milta na. I'm sure when you went to hospital you might have come across NS and dextrose, right? आप लोगों को पढ़ा है, like have you all seen what are IV fluids? Different types of IV fluids. You get Ringer's lactate, you get NS, you get dextrose. Like generally you will see them being diluted. You used to dilute drugs को dilute करने में IV या whatever you are trying to dilute, mainly IV, IM भी dilute कर सकते हैं. You use this liquid, ठीक है, because uh, it will conform with your own blood and plasma. Now you use generally 1 liter of dextrose, 1 liter of normal saline over a period of 24 hours. Over about 24 hours, okay. uh, Especially if a patient is having hypotension, what you do is, other than giving these normal saline and all, you have to raise the foot end of the bed. So essentially you are making sure that circulation is not cut off from their brain, because most of your important organs are present in the upper body. Okay, from your legs down there is only muscles and all. Think about it. If like the reproductive organs are present and all, that is fine, but technically they are present in the upper abdomen, but lower abdomen, but from your legs down and all, it is only bones, muscles, tissues and all. But your organs and your brain, heart, all of them are present in the upper part of the body. So उन लोगों को circulation जाना ज़्यादा important है. That is why you raise the foot end of the bed. You will try to make sure that you are treating hypertension while doing this, but currently in case of emergency you will try to raise the patient's foot end of the bed. If the patient is in coma, nothing should be given orally, okay, because it can be aspirated. If the patient is in coma, they will not be conscious whether or not they are swallowing it or whether they are inhaling it. Okay, so what happens is your epiglottis might be acting funny, and essentially you will not have control. So sometimes it might go into your trachea, whatever you are inducing orally. So if a patient is comatose, never give them anything orally. Blood glucose should be estimated, because sometimes patients who have coma, it might be because of hypoglycemia. So hypoglycemic coma bhi ho sakta, hyperglycemic coma bhi ho sakta, but so hyperglycemic coma will have other symptoms as well. Hypoglycemic coma is very common. In all comatose patients with signs of CNS depression, you will check for their EEG. ठीक है, electroencephalograph करते हैं आप. You will check for the patient's neurological condition. You will check whether or not they are having seizures or they are having CNS depression. You can induce something called coma cocktail. Coma cocktail is naloxone 2 mg, thiamine 100 mg, and dextrose 50 ml of 50% solution. So 50% is the concentration. You will give 50 ml of that this thing. All of this is given IV. Now coma cocktail is given with the intention that if the poison is, let's suppose, an opioid poison like morphine or codeine, naloxone will counter it. Okay? It will counter the respiratory and CNS depression. It will also overcome the effects of opioid that are released in the body. ठीक है, in case of pain and shock, जो भी opioids, जो endorphins, normal endorphins आपके body में release होते, that is also released, that is also reversed by naloxone. Dextrose helps if the patient is having coma due to hypoglycemia. And Wernicke, thiamine will help with Wernicke's encephalopathy. It will help in preventing Wernicke's encephalopathy. So your brain will have something called a Wernicke's area, which is responsible for speech. Uh, Now, Wernicke's area is not exactly, it will be present in your. अच्छा आप लोगों को, have you all been taught about the different areas of your brain? I mean, there are like 43 areas of the brain. वो 43 areas का एक मैप रहता, वो पढ़ाए थे आप लोगों को? I'm not sure whether आप लोगों के लेवल पे वो पढ़ाते नहीं पढ़ाते, but it is not necessary that you need it at the moment. But if you have been taught, you will know that there is one area present called Wernicke's area. That Wernicke's area, even if you're not if you've not been taught about it, it will be present in your lateral position, either right side or left side. That Wernicke's area is responsible, अलग अलग लोगों में अलग अलग रहता है. It is not like every person will have the same area, ठीक है? But you will be able to find it on a EEG, or you'll be able to find it on a MRI, ठीक है? When you perform an MRI scan. Anyway, uh, patients who might have you know especially alcoholics, yeah, let's suppose a patient is having coma because of whatever reason, and उनके अंदर कभी because of alcohol or because of some poison, there might be Wernicke's encephalopathy. That area might be damaged, and once that area is damaged, there is irreversible damage. So to protect that area, you are giving thiamine. ठीक है? The idea behind giving coma cocktail is you are essentially casting a very wide net. If there are morphine, so you are taking into account hypoglycemic coma, you are taking into account coma due to opioids, and you are taking into account if there is coma due to alcohol, Wernicke's encephalopathy can be avoided. So that is why you are giving naloxone, thiamine, and dextrose. Now, the last one, fourth part of poisoning, or fourth step of treatment of poisoning. So, third one was supportive therapy, right? The first one is stop the source of poison. Second is limit the absorption of poison. Third is supportive therapy. Fourth one is specific therapy. Now, specific therapy में antidotes आते हैं. Antidotes, antivenoms, and antitoxins. ठीक है? These are used whenever available and when you have diagnosed the patient. So first priority will be stabilizing the patient. After you have stabilized the patient, you will use specific therapy. Now, sometimes for specific poisons, you will have very specific therapy. Um, they are not exactly called antidotes. For example, let us suppose someone has ethanol poisoning. What is ethanol poisoning? Let's suppose someone consumes an extremely high amount of alcohol. Um, in case of no, not just ethanol, methanol poisoning as well. I think when we were discussing about CNS depressants, I told you about this. But if a patient has consumed methanol, methanol can be very dangerous. Now, if you remember, alcohol in your body, whatever alcohol you consume, gets converted into aldehyde. That aldehyde gets converted into acetone, uh, ketone essentially, and that ketone gets converted into carbohydrate and water. That is how alcohol is metabolized in your body. If you take ethyl alcohol, which is the common alcohol available outside and what people drink, that is ethanol. Only ethanol is safe for humans. That safe as in, that is also a very subjective term, but you can drink it without dying immediately. Immediately. So ethanol gets converted into aldehyde. Aldehyde gets converted into acetone. Acetone gets converted into carbohydrate and water. Methanol gets converted into formaldehyde. Very, very, very dangerous chemical in your body, and very dangerous chemical in general. But formaldehyde can wreak havoc in your body. So in case of methanol poisoning, generally the treatment is ethanol. If a patient is having methanol poisoning, you will induce ethanol in them, or you will give ethanol in them. In this scenario, ethanol or the alcohol that you use will be therapeutic, because ये alcohol dehydrogenase बोल के एक enzyme रहता. There is an enzyme named alcohol dehydrogenase. The function of that alcohol dehydrogenase is, so methanol gets converted into formaldehyde, using alcohol dehydrogenase. Then later formaldehyde gets converted into the ketonic form using aldehyde dehydrogenase. Anyway, that is not our point. The point here is this alcohol dehydrogenase is the same enzyme that is converting any alcohol. Okay? So if you give ethanol, ethanol has more affinity to the enzyme, or let me put it this way, this enzyme is more attractive to ethanol than methanol. ठीक है, तो as a result क्या होता, instead of acting on methanol it will start acting on ethanol. ठीक है, once a patient is poisoned with methanol, you give ethanol as a treatment. In that scenario what happens is, instead of methanol being converted into formaldehyde, which is very very harmful, alcohol, this ethanol will start getting converted, because you are giving ethanol together with methanol. Or the patient is already, let's suppose I have some fellow named Ramu, that fellow came with to me with methanol poisoning. इनके अंदर ऑलरेडी बहुत सारा methanol है which is getting converted into formaldehyde. Formaldehyde is causing a lot of problems in their body. ठीक है, it is causing damage to their body. I'm breaking this conversion of methanol to formaldehyde by giving ethanol. Ethanol will be more attractive to alcohol dehydrogenase, because of which what will happen is almost all of that enzyme will start converting ethanol into aldehyde. Now, aldehyde is also problematic, but at least it will not have an acute problem like formaldehyde. So acetaldehyde specifically. Okay. Ethanol gets converted into acetaldehyde using alcohol dehydrogenase, and that is a specific treatment. Yeah, nitrates in case of cyanide poisoning. Okay, that is also a specific treatment. It is not exactly an antidote, but it is a specific treatment. You can take other measures as well, other than specific therapy. There is the fifth part, which is other measures. Other measures include forced diuresis. I'll tell you when forced diuresis is used. Peritoneal dialysis, hemodialysis, hemoperfusion, exchange transfusion, gastric lavage. All of these are other measures you are taking. Okay, especially in case of, let's suppose there is acidic drugs like salicylates. Okay, if a patient has salicylate poisoning, in that scenario you will this excretion of acidic drug can be done by forcing alkaline diuresis. ठीक है, तो आप क्या करते हैं, in those patients you will give furosemide, you will give sodium bicarbonate and IV fluids. So essentially you are forcing diuresis, you are making sure that that salicylate is being excreted out of your body through urine. ठीक है, let us suppose a patient has taken basic drugs. So acidic drugs में आप furosemide दे रहे हो along with sodium bicarbonate in case there is basic toxicity like amphetamines. Now amphetamines I'm not sure, नहीं आप लोगों के syllabus में amphetamines नहीं है, but these are essentially drugs that will cause adrenergic stimulus. ठीक है, these are sympathomimetics. अपन लोग sympatho specifically they will mimic the function of adrenaline. So amphetamines may be enhanced by forced acid diuresis. So इसमें भी आप furosemide use कर सकते हैं, but with furosemide you will use ascorbic acid in this scenario. So depends on what type of poisoning is occurring. अगर salicylate poisoning हुई, which is acidic, the drug is acidic, you will give furosemide, loop diuretic, and sodium bicarbonate. ठीक है, if the patient is having a basic drug like amphetamine, basic or alkaline, you will again give furosemide. Along with this you will give ascorbic acid. ठीक है, vitamin C. along with IV fluids. In both the scenarios, you will give this with IV fluids. Now, these procedures may sometimes lead to volume overload, sometimes, okay, and they might expose the kidney to high doses of the toxin, because of which the kidney damage might occur, okay. आप क्या बोलते हैं, in such scenarios, especially in drugs like amphetamines, barbiturates, ethyl alcohol, methyl alcohol, methanol, ethanol जो बोल रहा हूँ मैं, phenytoin, theophylline, lithium. So lithium is a narrow therapeutic index drugs that we discussed in seizure, anti-seizure drugs. लिथियम कभी कभी यूज करते बोला था मैं, बट एनटीआई है ये पूरा में. यू कैन यूज हीमोडायलिसिस. It will be safer with respect to your kidney at least. Okay. Because your kidney has to work so much. If you are giving something like furosemide, it will be exposed to the poison, and in turn that poison can, because it is getting exposed to the nephrons, so the nephrons can get damaged. So that is why you can perform hemodialysis. Sometimes hemoperfusion can also be performed. Mostly hemoperfusion is carried when poisons are fat soluble. ठीक है. फैट soluble ड्रग्स को निकालना बॉडी में से मुश्किल है, बिकॉज मोस्ट ऑफ योर मेम्ब्रेन्स आर फैट्स, आर essentially made up of lipids. Fat soluble drugs will get absorbed very very quickly, they get distributed very quickly. So in that scenario you have to perform hemoperfusion. Now, coming to gut general management, what do you do with respect to you know different kinds of poisoning. इसमें gut decontamination में first will come MSS. If possible, if the patient does not have immediate problems, you can induce vomiting, or you can even perform stomach wash. Stomach wash is essentially performing gastric lavage. Okay, I'll show you how gastric lavage is done. But MSS में क्या कर रहे हैं आप? You give 20 to 30 ml of ipecac. You'll get syrup of ipecac, and within 15 minutes you will start seeing the patient vomiting. If you don't have ipecac, you can prepare mustard powder, 1 teaspoon of mustard powder in a little bit of water. You give that, the patient will start vomiting. It will take slightly longer, but same thing will happen. Okay. You can induce vomiting physically as well by stimulating the patient's pharynx with the fingertips, or by using very very strong salt solution. You can take 1 tablespoonful of salt in about half a glass of warm water. That will also induce vomiting, but it can be dangerous. ठीक है. Especially patients who have cardiac problems या hypertension already है, उनके अंदर problem हो सकता if you give such a strong salt solution. ठीक है. Because that salt solution will cause hypernatremia. And but hypernatremia क्या है? In case of emergency, that is one of the best solutions, and at home that is very easily available. Salt is very easily available. You might not find ipecac very easily. It will take some time. If you are immediately in the need of creating MSS, जब आप salt use कर सकते. Most of that excessive salt that you are taking will be lost through vomiting. ठीक है. Most of it. If a patient is having hypertension, or if they have arrhythmias, then a little amount of salt also might make a difference, but it is still better than poisoning itself. Okay. And you have to make sure that adequate fluid intake is ensured after they have vomited. Okay. uh, Now vomiting is contraindicated in certain situations. For example, if the patient has taken a corrosive agent, acid or petroleum products, or if the patient is unconscious, ये दोनों conditions में you cannot induce vomiting. ठीक है. If they are comatose or if they are unconscious, if you give something, some type of emetic, it will cause aspiration in them. Second, if the patient has been poisoned through a corrosive agent like acid or any corrosive agent, even if it is a base, strong base, NaOH जैसा है, so it is obviously creating damage on the way down. It will also create damage on the way up. So it will be very very painful to the patient, and it might create more problems than what you want. So in scenarios where the patient has taken any corrosive agent, petroleum products or corrosive agent, then you do not induce vomiting. Okay. For that scenario, you use something called stomach wash. So the idea behind stomach was essentially is you will put a tube inside a patient's stomach. ठीक है, आप क्या करते, you will take a small syringe, you will induce a little bit of certain fluids, and you will start removing that fluid. Now that fluid which you are inducing will generally either have an antidote, or you will have it will have some agent that is countering the poison. Essentially the idea is you are first diluting the poison that is present in the patient's stomach. At the same time you are removing the poison from the patient's stomach. Now this is also a procedure that is supposed to be done immediately, meaning as soon as possible. If you perform the gastric lavage, it will be better, because the longer you wait, the higher the chance that the patient will start absorbing the drug. Okay, your body will not differentiate between poison or drug. It will just absorb that agent. So if you're not giving your time, if you're not giving your body enough time to get the drug absorbed inside your body, the symptoms of poisoning will not be as severe. Okay, and it'll be easier to treat the patient. I'll show you a video. Hold on one second. How this thing occurs. Hmm, one second. हाँ ये देखो. Are you able to see the video? दिख रहा है ये स्क्रीन पे? There is one doctor on the right and there's a lady on the left.
Sure.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So,
Audio आप लोगों को नहीं आएगा. I'll explain what is happening. So the first thing that you do is explain the procedure of the gastric lavage to the patient. You'll tell the patient that we are going to put a tube down you'll tell the guardian, or you'll tell the patient itself. If the patient is conscious enough and they are able to understand what you are telling, then tell it to the patient, or else you take the consent from you. It is very important to take the consent, because in such procedures sometimes things can go wrong, and you already know how doctors are treated in India. If something goes wrong, they will really like, you know what happens. So see, you explain the procedure to the patient. Okay, you have to make sure that the patient is fasting overnight, but in case of poisoning you cannot make sure of this. Now see, they will take normal saline, sterile gloves, Ryle's tube, whatever tube you get, adhesive tape, you get lubricant tape, syringe, and a little bit of other. Yeah. See, first you restrain the patient's movement. यहाँ पर they are doing it on a child, that is why the tube is slightly different. Infant tube use कर रहे, Ryle's tube use कर रहे, adult में use करे तो slightly longer tube use करते. ठीक है, Ryle's tube will work, but the infant's tube will not work in an adult. But in any scenario, in both the patients, whether it is an adult or whether it is a child, you get the same procedure. ठीक है, first you restrain using sheets. This is done so that they are not moving around during the procedure, because the procedure can be very uncomfortable. Now, what you do is, see, first they measure the distance between their nose and their tigers. ठीक है, then देखो, पहले वो मेजर करते हैं, उसके बाद ट्रेगस से जिफिस्टानम तक मेजर करते हैं. जिफिस्टानम इज द एंड ऑफ योर स्टर्नम. ठीक है, द एंड टिप ऑफ योर स्टर्नम, एंड अम्बिलिकस के बीच में छोटा पॉइंट रहता, दैट इज द प्लेस वेयर योर स्टमक इज. सो यू मेजर दैट डिस्टेंस. ठीक है, lubricant to the tube. ठीक है, you'll apply the little bit of lubricant on the gauze, then see, you start inserting. पहले perpendicular you start inserting the tube, then slowly you will ask the patient to start swallowing. It will become easier for the patient to it will be easier to induce the tube inside, or to push the tube inside if the patient is swallowing while doing this. You'll fix it to the nose. Now you have to confirm whether or not the position of the tube is proper. Okay, how you confirm the positioning of the tube is by insufflation, or by this thing, आप थोड़ा सा content of the wherever the tube is, आप X-ray कर सकते हैं, that will be the easiest method. Or if you cannot perform X-ray at that point, you will perform insufflation. Insufflation you will see in a bit. एक second. ये देखो, you'll take a syringe, you'll put it on the end of the tube, and you'll push a little bit of air. ठीक है, a gush of air is essentially, now you auscultate. ठीक है, you will hear for sounds in your stomach. If you're actually getting sound in the stomach, it is fine. Sometimes what happens is when you're putting the tube inside the patient, it might go into the patient's lung. Generally you will see that if it is entering your trachea, or if it is entering the patient's lung, the patient will start coughing. At that time you stop proceeding the tube anymore. You'll remove the tube and try again. Okay, until unless it is going into your stomach, you don't start the procedure. You have to make sure that the tube is inside the procedure, inside the stomach, not in the patient's respiratory tract. Now आप supine position में लगा के patient को थोड़ा laterally shift करते हैं. ठीक है, sometimes what happens is when you try to aspirate the patient, or when you try to remove the gastric content, not enough content might come out. ठीक है, sometimes what happens is because the tube is so thin and the content of the gastric, the stomach content might be in such a position that the end of the tube is not actually dipping into the fluid. ठीक है, just imagine you are Acha, have you all ever seen, sometimes what happens is some vehicles will have less petrol and kabhi petrol pura khatam ho jata. So if you have someone who is nearby, who if you are able to go to a petrol pump and get petrol, that is fine. In case you are not, then you just bring another vehicle which has petrol in it. You take a small pipe and you transfer that petrol from one end to the other. You create a suction and you put the other end. Now if you understand what I'm telling, यहाँ पर what I'm telling is essentially, let us suppose there are two tanks like this. ये एक tank है, ये एक tank है. This one has enough amount of petrol. ठीक है, this thing has no amount of petrol or very little petrol. You're taking a pipe and you're inserting this pipe's end into the petrol, and you suck from this end initially to create a vacuum. ठीक है, that is when petrol will start moving in, or any fluid for that matter, water, petrol, whatever you want to do. ठीक है, now to achieve this, you have to make sure that this end of the pipe is actually inside the petrol. Okay, inside the liquid. The same thing applies to this situation as well. To properly remove the content of your your stomach, you need to make sure that the end of the tube is actually in the fluid in your stomach itself. Okay, that is why first you make sure that the patient is in lateral position, so that it is easier to collect and it is not going down into your intestine. And sometimes what happens is if it is not coming, आप क्या करते हैं? See what they do. If specimen is not coming, आप क्या करते हैं? थोड़ा ट्यूब को पोजीशन आप चेंज करते हैं, अंदर बाहर करते हैं. Now in case that is also not working, what you do is you will take a little bit of NS, 10 ml of NS, and you will induce the patient. Okay, you'll instill the NS into the patient slowly. You will not push the NS. You will let gravity perform its function. Okay, now you will start reaspirating. Okay, you'll start moving the patient a little bit till the tube has actually dipped into the stomach content. Okay, now यहाँ पर they were only collecting a specimen from the patient's stomach. ठीक है, they were not in a condition where the patient had acute poisoning and they only performed it once. In case there is acute poisoning and you are performing stomach wash, gastric lavage भी बोलते हैं इसको, again and again, in that scenario what you will do is initially when you are अब जैसा लोग NS दिए ना, वैसा in that NS you will have your antidote. ठीक है, you'll put the antidote into the NS that you are instilling into the patient. That antidote will go work on the contents of your stomach and you'll start aspirating again, and you repeat the procedure multiple times. ठीक है, 6-7 times till you see adequate, till you see that the poison content in your stomach has decreased significantly and the symptoms have subsided to a certain extent. ठीक है, आप aspirate लेके, now in this scenario they are doing a diagnostic procedure, that is why they are collecting, but you can do it in case of poisoning as well to identify what kind of poison that patient has well suffered from. ठीक है, that is gastric lavage essentially. Now, gastric lavage is also contraindicated in certain conditions. You cannot perform it in case of poisoning, especially poisoning through corrosives. ठीक है, कार्बोलिक एसिड में कर सकते हैं आप, बट अदर corrosives में नहीं कर सकते, पेट्रोलियम प्रोडक्ट्स में तो नहीं कर सकते, इफ देर इज फॉरेन बॉडी बीइंग इंजेस्टेड नहीं कर सकते, इफ देर इज पॉइजनिंग ड्यू टू कन्वल्सेंट्स यू कैनॉट डू बिकॉज द पेशेंट माइट हैव कन्वल्शन while you are performing the gastric lavage. ठीक है, in certain scenarios it is completely contraindicated. In those scenarios you can give activated charcoal. ठीक है, activated charcoal is a special substance that will absorb the poison on its surface and it will not let absorption of the poison occur. I'll explain what is absorption and the uh, what happens in general and management later on in the next class. ठीक है.